Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of PKM Weekly, lasts for the month of April. So let's see what's in store for us this week. So first up, Obsidian version 1.8.10. So that introduced basically a new vault location for your Android phone. So it basically allows you to save your data within Obsidian's private app storage or within the device. And it's basically just for added privacy. So what you can do is you can follow it here. When you launch Obsidian for Android, you get the choice. You can choose it on device storage or on app storage. Obsidian team recommends device storage, so basically you can share it within other apps and services. Or you can choose app storage, which basically means that your data is only available within Obsidian's private app storage. So it just adds that little bit of security and privacy for your notes if you want to. Next up was a video on Obsidian and Supernote, and is it a perfect combo? So this one was from Vlad, and he just basically looks at how he uses Supernote with Obsidian, and it just goes through the detail of how he syncs it, how he chooses it, and why he uses one app over the other, and what he's got planned for the future. So definitely do check that out if you are also looking to leverage a couple of apps with Obsidian. And then next up, this is quite an interesting one. So what's the weirdest way you use Obsidian that actually works? So after using Obsidian for a number of years, OP asked, I'm just curious, what's the weirdest and most unexpected way that you use Obsidian for it to actually work? And there's a lot of responses, 70 comments or so, with a lot of ideas and things of how people use it. So if you're in doubt of the weirdest ways people use Obsidian, do check this post out, as there's a lot there. And then there was another one, very similar, or a bit opposite, but what's your favourite part of Obsidian? Again, just check this one out in case you're in doubt or you want to know what other people think about Obsidian, because there's a lot there. Obviously, local comes up first a number of times, but we shall, there's a lot of other comments. And also, just before I forget, there is no news on the dynamic views for the time being. So the Obsidian roadmap is still dynamic views and multiplayer. So that's still being worked on. So hopefully they're going to be released at some point soon. And next up was Obsidian or Bear. So if you're in doubt about which app to use, especially if you're a Mac user, given that Bear is only Mac, as far as I know, this video here will just goes through both of them, both of the apps, and why OP thinks he can let you decide which one is the better one for you. So again, definitely worth checking out if you're in doubt over a couple of apps to use. Next up is Logseq. So after a little bit of silence last week, there's a few things coming up, and a few great things, I should say. So basic markdown export for DB graphs. So that's now implemented. So what the devs have done is they've given you the option so you can export to SQLite DB, export to SQLite with assets, export to EDN, and this is the new one, export a standard markdown. The only thing is it doesn't include block properties for the time being. So it's going to be interesting to see what the devs do with that one, how they're going to implement it, if at all, and how they're going to be able to allow users to export to the block properties, because that is one of the things about the DB version, is that it allows you to have properties a lot simpler and a lot easier. So it'd be interesting to see how they implement it when you export it to Markdown, and then debug transit file. That's just for debugging. So that's a good step forward. And it does mean that we are one step closer to it being released as a desktop app, because that was one of the key milestones to get the standard Markdown export implemented, so that then they can cut a desktop release. But on that vein, there is nothing announced by the team yet of when that might come to fruition. And then next up was a changelog from the past week or so, and thanks Danzu for putting it together. I really appreciate it. So they've basically looked at smart property navigation. I think I commented on this last week or the week before, so that you can basically now use your keyboard a lot more natively rather than having to use the mouse to click and type. Property selection is now more intelligent, so basically it gives you a few choices when you're creating properties. Preserve multi-select order and expanded export options, as we talked about. But there is a good few things more. So if you follow this here, that was last week, so I need to change that. So what we've got is the new and enhanced features, major bug fixes, performance and technical improvements, and multi-tab experience. So there is a lot going on within the Logseq DB version, and now it's just a case of devs actually cutting something and making people aware that it's available. So we shall see what happens with that one. Capacities. The team basically did a quick video of how to capture, review and use notes. So if you're struggling constantly with your note-taking app, here's a simple workflow to build momentum, capture what matters, review it and connect your thoughts. So it's a great video by Beth, so do check it out because it just goes through the basics, the daily note, how you can review them, use of tags and linking and backlinking, and how you can then use all the information that you've captured to actually create something from it rather than having it as a deposit of your notes. And next up, they also did the Team Ask Me Anything for March 2025. So after their on-site in Freiburg in Germany, they basically went through a number of the questions that the community had. And if you follow this here, you can see a few pictures, what they've been up to, what they discussed. And then it goes through various different questions of how they'd prioritize, what's smart media, what's coming up for the future, and various different things and who does what. So a great insight into Capacities and the team. So definitely do check that out if you're interested. And then next up was automatic backups. So I read somewhere online, and if you do a quick Google search, I'm sure you'll find it as well, is that automated backups are now a thing. So they're slowly being implemented into the app. So what that basically means is that you can set up through Capacities app that it will create backups of your data at whatever interval you want. And it's going to be available from the settings and then backups and then automated backups once it is live. So it's not live yet. They are working on it, but it is going to be a thing soon enough. I don't know at what level it's going to be available, if it's going to be free, premium, pro, whatever, or if it's just going to be available as standard. So that will be something that we just have to keep an eye out for and see what the devs decide. But it's certainly a great thing. Just basically means that you can have your data in markdown format on your machine at regular intervals, so it just saves you from the worry of being locked in or losing any data. So definitely a great step forward from the devs on that side, and it's definitely something that should be implemented in all apps. And I think Logseq does have something as well where you can schedule backup, and backups will be created every hour. You just need to select the folder first for that to be achieved. So it's definitely something that's going on in that direction, that if your notes are in a database, you can export them into something to keep them on your machine going forward. So a great update. Tana, they've got live transcriptions update on the desktop, so now 60 languages are supported. You can start it from various different ways, and it will basically transcribe whatever you're talking to your Tana. And if you follow the link, you've got a little bit of a demo somewhere here of how it works and what you can do with it. So the various different languages that you can choose come up on the side here, but there's a list down below as well. So all of these languages, you can choose automatic or live transcription. So a very good update for all the voice input fans out there. Tana updates, they've also got a few updates. So new command node, updated service where we provide live transcriptions that we just spoke about, and action items are now recognized from the processing agent. And there's quite a few more with a bit more detail here that you can see that the team are slowly improving the app. And they do say some very cool stuff brewing in the background here, so we shall see what's coming up. So it sounds like something exciting is brewing. And then within Tana, if you want to build flexible projects, dashboards, project hubbed, flexible dashboards, complete project visibility, do check this video out. And it just basically goes through of how to come up with a workflow that you can set up your project hubs with various different dashboards. So that was that on Tana. AppFlowy, so there was just one comment this week from one of the users. Well, there's a lot more, but this one that stood out. So I tried dozens of Notion alternatives and I keep coming back to this open source tool, which is AppFlowy. So basically, if you just follow this article, it will talk through why Prath thinks this is the best app for him and why it might be the app for you. It basically just goes through the various different positives of the apps and a few negatives that he would like AppFlowy to fix. Noteey, they did a version 1.21, so added monthly view for journals, added option, set different colors and various different other things. And as usual with Noteey, you've got a great video, 3-minute long, and basically just goes through all of the various different updates that they've implemented so that you can, as usually, see them live and play around with them and just see if it's something that is of interest to you and would help your workflow. So definitely a great one a great update and keep up the good work. RemNote, this was an interesting one that just came across by chance because I didn't see it advertised by RemNote in any way, shape or form, but it was that basically Python programmer, following for quite a while now. He did a little bit of how he forces your brain to learn things faster using the SRS methodology or spaced repetition, and he mentions RemNote within it. It is about a 6-minute video, and he does talk about what it is, blah blah blah, and then towards the end he basically mentions RemNote and how he thinks he can use it to retain information that he's learning. And if you do use his link, you get 20% off your annual subscription. So if you are on the fence about getting a pro subscription with RemNote, definitely do check this out and get yourself 20% off their annual subscription. So, but again, similar to Logseq, RemNote, I think just need to improve their communication a little bit because I only came across this by chance. Thymer, so this is one that a lot of people from the Twitter space are keeping an eye on. Nothing yet, nothing that's been released or dates of when it's going to be released, apart from it's going to be a matter of weeks. So there was a question of how soon within Twitter, and Diedrich, one of the devs, posted weeks, finishing up the last pieces of core functionality, and then it should be out. We'll invite the first users and collect feedback. So if you're interested in this app and keeping an eye out on it, definitely follow Diedrich and WTools, because they're the ones that are posting a lot about it, and get yourself on the waiting list. And that's it for this week. So thank you as usual for being here, and I shall see you next week. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.